Good evening, and welcome to the virtual public information meeting for state project number 142-152, which is the replacement of bridge number 1120 carrying Route 74 over Skungamaug River in Tolland, Connecticut. My name is Brianna Maljanian, and I am a project engineer with the Connecticut Department of Transportation. We hope that everyone in attendance finds the presentation informative and that we'll be able to address and answer any questions or concerns you may have. So before we get started with the main presentation, I want to walk through the goals and format for tonight's meeting. First, I will be explaining the different ways you can interact with the project team during the meeting. Next, I will introduce the project team, including the department leadership and our consultant liaison engineering team. Then we will have the technical portion of the presentation, which will include the condition of the existing structure, the purpose and need for the project, and the recommended design solution, which has progressed to a 30% design level. We also will be explaining the rights-of-way process, and then we will have a live question and answer session. There are 3 ways that you will be able to communicate with us during the live question and answer session. Questions can be submitted via email, call and leave a voicemail, or if you're joining us on Microsoft Teams, you can use the chat box on the right side of the window. The project email, voicemail, and chat box will be screened by the project team during the question and answer session. All questions will be posted in the chat window, and all questions and answers will be read aloud. Questions may be asked at any time during the presentation, and they will be answered at the end during the question and answer session. The primary means by which to communicate with the project team will be via email at dotproject014-0152-0152@ct.gov, as it is currently shown on the slide. You can also call 860-944-1111 and leave a voicemail. As I said previously, the chat box can be used if you're joining us through the Microsoft Teams application. We will explain how to use the chat function in more detail on the next slide. The Microsoft Teams chat function will only be available during tonight's live question and answer session. There is also a project webpage where a recording of tonight's presentation, including the question and answer session, will be made available. The webpage will also include information that was explained on how to leave questions and comments for the project team. That website is https://portal.ct.gov/dot Tolland 142-152, as it is currently shown on the slide. The question and comment period by email or phone will be open through November 1st, 2021. Therefore, questions or comments that are thought of after tonight's meeting may be submitted until November 1st, 2021 via email or voicemail. I'd like to now introduce the project team. First, we have with the Connecticut Department of Transportation, Bart Sweeney, the Division Chief of Bridges, Lou Baccio, the Principal Engineer, Derek Lassard, the Supervising Engineer, and myself, Brianna Maljanian, the Project Engineer. Additionally, Clow Harbor and Associates, or CHA, is working on the project as the department's Consultant Liaison Engineers. From CHA, we have Donald Worse, Project Manager, and Tom Sawtell, Project Engineer. We would greatly appreciate if you would complete the public survey after tonight's meeting, which has been established for this project on SurveyMonkey. Virtual public information meetings are relatively new for the department, and so the results of the survey will assist us in using this format in the future. There is also a civil rights flyer available. Links to both the public survey and the civil rights flyer are available on the project website mentioned earlier. Lastly, I am required to read the following sentence as part of the Title VI Civil Rights. No person shall, on the basis of race, color, or national origin, be excluded from participation or subject to discrimination in the development of this project. Before we get into the technical portion of the presentation, I wanted to provide some definitions of the major structural elements on a bridge and an explanation of the numerical condition rating system assigned to the major bridge elements. Looking at the bridge diagram on the slide, the deck is the riding surface of the bridge. The parapets, or sometimes bridges, can also have an open rail system, help prevent errant vehicles from going off the bridge. The beams or the girders are the supporting structural elements and are designed to support vehicular loads, the self-weight of the bridge, and any environmental loads such as wind, seismic, etc. The parapets, deck, and beams or girders are what make up the superstructure of a bridge. The abutments and wing walls are the end supports on a bridge. Intermediate supports, if any, are called piers. Together, the piers, abutments, and wing walls are known as the substructure of the bridge. The substructure supports the superstructure and also helps to transmit loads from the superstructure down to the bridge foundations. All state bridges and town bridges over 20 feet in length are inspected every 2 years by the department's Bridge Safety and Evaluation Unit. The major bridge elements are assigned a condition rating on a scale of 1 to 9. With 9 being excellent condition and 1 being imminent failure condition. Typically, when a major bridge element reaches a 4 or poor condition, a project is initiated to address the deficiencies. Now that I've provided these bridge definitions and condition rating information, I would like to introduce Tom Sawtell from CHA, who will be presenting the technical portion of the presentation.
Thank you, Brianna, for the introduction. Good evening, everyone. As noted in an earlier slide, my name is Thomas Sawtell, and I am the project engineer from CHA Consulting that will be managing this project as part of the Consultant Liaison Engineering Program, where we work directly with the Connecticut Department of Transportation. I'll be going through some project specifics of the current condition of bridge number 1120, which carries Route 74 over the Skungamaug River in Tolland. I will also present the proposed work under state project number 142-152, which has been initiated to replace existing bridge number 1120.
Bridge 1120 is located here as seen highlighted in orange on the screen and carries Route 74 eastbound and westbound over the Skungamaug River. The Skungamaug River flows in a north to south direction. The bridge is located a 1/4 mile east of the Country Butcher. The project site limits include both approaches eastbound and westbound along Route 74 as outlined in red. In the vicinity of the project site, the land use is primarily residential. There is one residential street, Skungamaug Road, located to the west of the bridge.
So this is a plan view of the existing bridge. The bridge was constructed in 1916 and carries an average of 2,700 vehicles per day. The bridge carries a lane of traffic in both the eastbound and westbound directions along Route 74. The curb-to-curb of the bridge is 22.5 feet and consists of a single span with an overall length of 24 feet. The bridge is supported by masonry abutments located on both the east and west side. Additionally, there's an existing 12-inch water main that runs parallel to the north fascia of the bridge, and overhead utilities are also located on the north side of the bridge. As previously mentioned, the existing bridge provides a 22.5-foot roadway and consists of a 10-foot wide westbound and 9-foot wide eastbound lane. The original superstructure consists of 8 concrete encased I-beams. The structure was widened by 5 feet to the south side at some point prior to 1994. The structure is topped with a bituminous concrete overlay. The bridge has a jersey-shaped parapet to the north side and a thri-beam rail with wood blockouts on the south side. Here you can see the existing south bridge elevation. The bridge has a span length of 24 feet, as previously stated. The structure is supported by stone masonry abutments with an unknown foundation condition, as there is very little information and limited as-built plans of the original 1916 bridge construction. There's moderate potential for scour concerns on this site based on a previous investigation performed in 1998. As for the hydraulics of the existing site, the existing structure is inadequate as the 1-foot minimum underclearance for the design storm is not met. The design storm is the 100-year frequency storm event for this bridge.
As Brianna previously mentioned, during biannual inspections, the bridge inspectors determine condition ratings for each of the major elements of the bridge. Based on the bridge inspection performed in 2019, the deck is considered to be in satisfactory condition overall. The superstructure was noted to be in poor condition, and this rating is a result of deterioration on the bottoms of the concrete encased I-beams. The substructure and approaches are noted to be in satisfactory condition, and the channel and channel protection around the bridge was also noted to be in fair condition. The inspectors also look at other elements of the bridge, such as roadway alignment and deck geometry. On this bridge, the inspectors noted the condition of the deck geometry as intolerable, as the existing bridge width is narrower than the approach roadway width of Route 74. Because of this, the bridge is considered to be functionally obsolete. The next few slides show some existing photos of the bridge and project site. The photo to the top left shows the north upstream elevation of the bridge. The 12-inch water main is shown running parallel to the bridge fascia. The photo on the top right shows the south downstream elevation view of the bridge. In the foreground of this photo, you can see the remnants of a man-made stone berm dam. The bottom left shows the east approach looking west over the bridge. In this photo, you can clearly see the overhead utilities located to the north side of the bridge. The bottom right shows the west approach looking east over the bridge. In the top left, you can see the condition of the pavement overlay over the bridge, which is overall in good condition. Additionally, you can see the jersey-shaped parapet on the north side. Also important to note, there is an existing gouge in the guide rail attachment as shown in this photo. The top right photo shows the typical view and underside condition of the superstructure, which previously, as mentioned, consists of concrete encased I-beams. The bottom photos show the typical condition of the concrete encased girders. As you can see on the bottom left photo, there's exposed bottom flanges with heavy rust and section loss. The bottom right photo shows the underside near the north fascia. There's evidence of efflorescence, which indicates dampness and active leakage through the deck surface. So the top left shows the typical condition of the masonry abutments. And as you can see, this is the east masonry abutment. There's regions of missing grout between the stones and isolated hollow spots near the water line. The top right shows west masonry abutment. A recent concrete repair was performed by Bridge Maintenance in 2014, which included filling the existing stone masonry sluiceway with concrete and installing a 24-inch drainage pipe. The bottom left photo shows an upstream view of the Skungamaug River and impounded pond. And the bottom right photo shows a view of the Skungamaug River downstream of the bridge site. The primary purpose of this project is to address the poor structural condition of the existing superstructure and address the functional obsolescence of the bridge deck geometry due to the existing curb-to-curb width being narrower than the approaches. Per state and federal standards, a minimum curb-to-curb width of 28 feet is required based on the average number of vehicles which travel over the bridge each day, or 2,700 vehicles in this case. Also, the bridge is 105 years old at this point, with aging masonry abutments that would require significant rehabilitation efforts to extend the service life of the structure. Lastly, the structure is currently not hydraulically adequate for the 100-year design frequency event. So the proposed improvements under this project include a full replacement of the existing bridge. The new superstructure will include the use of pre-stressed concrete T-beams, as shown in the photo to the right. The beams are going to be topped with a bituminous overlay. The new superstructure will consist of a 34-foot wide roadway, which will satisfy state and federal standards. In addition, new crash-tested bridge rail will be installed on both sides of the roadway. Also, new cast-in-place abutments and wing walls will be installed to replace the existing aging masonry abutments. The shallower depth of the proposed superstructure will allow the low chord of the bridge to be raised up slightly and make the structure hydraulically adequate. Water will also be allowed to flow unimpeded under the bridge during high flow storm events. Additionally, a new horizontal realignment of the approaches on either side of the bridge is proposed for approximately 1,200 feet of Route 74. What this is going to do is produce a flatter roadway curve, which meets the 50-mile-an-hour design speed criteria for the project and allows for the approach widths to match the bridge width. Here's the proposed cross-section for the new superstructure. As previously mentioned, it will consist of pre-stressed concrete T-beams. The proposed curb-to-curb width will be 34 feet, consisting of two 12-foot wide travel lanes and two 5-foot wide shoulders. Finally, a curb-mounted bridge rail on either side of the bridge will also be installed as part of the project. So here you can see the general plan and elevation view of the proposed structure. In the top image, orange represents the limits of the proposed bridge. The yellow regions shown on either side of the proposed structure represent the approach roadway reconstruction limits. The dark gray represents the existing bridge substructure that will remain. The existing west masonry abutment is proposed to be cut down to facilitate grading of a riparian shelf between the old abutment and new abutment. Additionally, this will allow for a portion of the sluiceway to remain and minimize any impacts to the downstream man-made stone berm dam, which is historically sensitive. The red regions represent the state right-of-way limits, and as you can see, the majority of the work is going to remain within these limits. However, there's a portion of fill to the north east, which goes beyond the right-of-way slightly. Finally, the overhead utilities and water main will need to be relocated to install the new structure. One benefit of this superstructure type is that the nominal depth of the beams are a tad shallower, which will help with hydraulic opening. Additionally, the proposed skew of 25 degrees and increased span length of the bridge creates a better alignment under the superstructure, which matches the natural alignment of the Skungamaug River. So on this slide, we show the roadway plan and full project limit extents. As previously stated, the orange represents the limits of the bridge replacement, and the yellow regions on either side of the bridge represent the limits of full depth reconstruction and realignment of Route 74. West of the bridge, approximately 500 feet of roadway will be reconstructed, and east of the bridge, there's approximately 700 feet of roadway that will be reconstructed part of this project. The green regions show the proposed fill limits, and brown regions show the proposed cut limits that are needed for the realignment and widening work of the roadway. The dark gray regions represent proposed driveway aprons, respectively. To complete construction of the bridge, full closure of the existing bridge and detour of traffic is proposed. This method was proposed as it's far safer for both the contractor and users of roadway. Keeping the roadway open to traffic during construction was also evaluated. However, early on, it was determined there was far too much risk to both roadway users and the contractor during removal of the aging masonry abutments. The detour that we're proposing is to be in place for approximately 3 months. And this is going to be during the summer months to minimize impacts to the Tolland school systems. The detour route, as seen in the slide, is 6.5 miles long and uses all state routes. To perform the full depth reconstruction and realignment of Route 74, a 1-lane, 2-way traffic operation is proposed. This work is anticipated to occur outside of the full closure and detour period needed to construct the bridge. The contractor is going to be required to restore the condition of Route 74 to 2 11-foot wide travel lanes at the end of each workday. As previously mentioned, the overhead utilities and existing 12-inch water main will need to be relocated temporarily to facilitate construction of the new bridge. As for the environmental impacts, some tree clearing will be needed for utility and road alignment work. We're anticipating minimal watercourse and wetland impacts at this site, as the full road closure will allow for the work to be performed up top on the roadway surface. The contractor will not need to drive equipment into the wetlands to perform demolition and construction activities. Finally, for permits with this project, we're anticipating a deep inland wetland general permit, an individual flood management certification, and a U.S. Army Corps of Engineers self-verification permit.
There are very few right-of-way impacts anticipated for the project. There's a temporary construction easement that's going to be needed for relocation of the overhead utilities. Additionally, we're anticipating a small slope easement proposed in the northeast corner of the bridge to facilitate grading for a guide railing, and that's within the limits of 1103 Tolland Stage Road. We're also anticipating a drainage right-of-way at the outlet of the sluiceway on the southeast corner of the bridge site. I'm going to turn it over now to Matthew Giannakopoulos from the Division of Rights-of-Way, and he will describe the rights-of-way process.
I am Matt Giannakopoulos, and I am a right-of-way coordinator with the Department's Division of Rights-of-Way. It is our office's responsibility to acquire the property rights needed for transportation projects. The proposed project design requires the acquisition of property rights, so I'd like to give a brief overview of the Department's right-of-way acquisition process. Please keep in mind, though, that the specific impacts are still being fine-tuned and may change as the design progresses. Any property rights that will be acquired in accordance with Connecticut General Statutes Sections 13A-73 and 13A-98E. And whenever there is federal money used in any phase of a project, the Department must adhere to the Uniform Relocation Assistance and Real Properties Acquisition Policies Act of 1970 as amended. Once the design has moved to the point where we are ready to begin the acquisition process, each affected property owner will receive a formal letter of intent to acquire from our office, along with a property map which depicts the exact property rights to be acquired. At that point, our office will determine the fair market value of those property rights and use that value to establish an offer of just compensation. The offer will be sent out to the owner in writing, and a right-of-way agent will be available to meet with the property owners and explain the project, go over the specific impacts to the property, and explain how the state developed its offer. The property owner will have a reasonable time to consider the state's offer and enter into negotiations. If an agreement is reached, the state will prepare all the necessary paperwork and record the deed and the property map on the town land records. However, if negotiations reach an impasse, in order to keep everything on schedule, the department may acquire the necessary property rights through its power of eminent domain. In that event, the state files a notice of condemnation in Superior Court along with a monetary deposit in the amount of the state's offer. The property owner will have 6 months from that date to appeal for a reassessment of the damages if they thought the state's offer was inadequate. Now, whether or not the owner chooses to use their right to appeal, the money that was deposited in the court is available to be withdrawn by the owner at any time, subject to the discretion of the Superior Court. I know sometimes people think when they hear eminent domain that it means the state just takes their property for $1, but that's not the case. You know, the owners are entitled to at least the amount of the state's offer, and the state only takes title to the property rights that are needed for the project. If there are any questions regarding the department's right-of-way acquisition process, I'd be happy to address them during the Q&A portion of tonight's meeting.
Thanks, Matt, for a summary of the rights-of-way process. Assuming we receive all approved permits and rights-of-way acquisitions, construction is anticipated to start in the spring of 2024 for this project. The construction is anticipated to take one construction season, or 8 months, starting in April and finishing in November. The estimated construction cost of the project is $6.25 million at this time. And finally, the construction cost will be covered using 80% federal and 20% state funds.
All right, thanks Brianna and Tom, appreciate that. As mentioned before, we're going to be opening up the presentation to questions and answers now. There are 3 ways of communicating your question to us. As previously mentioned, you can email us your question. The email address is on your screen now. You can also call in and you'll have to leave a message. We have multiple people calling in and checking the voicemail periodically during this meeting to make sure that we get all of the questions that come in. And also you can submit your questions through MS Teams live event if you're using that. There's a little question mark on the top right hand side of your screen that you'll be able to click and submit your question. If you're using YouTube, you'll have to either email or phone in your questions. As mentioned before, we do have our project webpage. There is a lot of information there, and our comment period currently is open through November 1st. So if you do think of a question after this meeting before it closes and you don't get it in before it closes, don't worry too much. Just email us at the email above. Drop that down and we'll get a response to you as soon as we can. With that said, we do have a few questions that came in and we'll start running through those now. So first question is, what is the expected cost of the bridge? So the expected cost of the bridge is $6.3 million currently. That's a full replacement. We are at the 30% design level, so that cost could change as we finalize our design. And the funding source right now is 80% federal and 20% state funds. There will be no town funds that are applied to this. It's strictly 80% federal and 20% state funds that we're paying for this bridge replacement. So appreciate that question. We'll keep working down. The second question we have, if this is a bridge replacement project, why is there so much roadway work? Tom, do you want to take that one?
Hi, Derek. Yeah, I can take that question. Hi, everybody. This is Thomas Sawtell again from CHA. So the reason why we can't keep the bridge open during construction, first and primarily, as I previously stated in the presentation, we're dealing with old masonry abutments that are over 106 years old. We looked at staging the construction line or cutting half of the bridge deck in half and letting half of the traffic go over the bridge throughout construction. And when we evaluated that, cutting at the construction stage line, it possesses a lot of inherent risks and unknowns to adjacent live traffic and the contractor working alongside the bridge. Second, the stage construction requires an overbuild width on the bridge, which increases impacts to the environment, private property, and also has the potential to impact historically sensitive regions around the project site. Finally, the other reason that we can't let the bridge remain open during construction is that we looked at the project duration. This would kick the project out to 2 construction seasons, and there would be a lot more associated impacts with traffic.
Thanks, Tom. And to add to that a little bit, so the roadway work that we're doing, we are widening the road to match into the standard bridge width that we need to meet for all our standards and codes. So we need to extend some of our roadway work to meet the width of the new bridge that we'll have out there. So I was just told there was a little bit of some issues with YouTube. So if you're joining us on Teams, we appreciate you jumping on. The presentation is being recorded and it will be available at the project website. It should be showing up on your screen now. You can jot that down, take a look at it later, and you'll be able to watch the entire presentation. But feel free to ask questions now if you have any. We'll keep working through the ones we have listed here. So third question working down is, when is the project anticipated to start and how long will it take? So anticipated start of construction right now is April of 2024. It's going to take one construction season, so it'll end around November of 2024. We are anticipating a 3-month road closure during the summer months, and it's going to be starting towards the end of the school year and then run through the summer. And we will have liquidated damages in the contract to make sure that the contractor has that bridge and that road open prior to the start of the school year in September of 2024. So as I was mentioning before, just like saying some reminders, if you have questions, you can email them, call them in, but also you have the option to submit them through the chat. So next question, how will emergency services be provided during the full closure and detour period? Tom, are you willing to take that question?
Absolutely, Derek. Again, this is Thomas Sautel from CHA. So first off, we're well aware in the vicinity of the project site that the Winding River Village is located east of the bridge site. We've been coordinating with the town of Tolland currently, and to address the medical needs of residents during the full detour and closure of 74 for that 3-month period, we've proposed staging an ambulance 24/7, and that could be in the parking lot of the Winding River Village to provide medical services for residents located east of the project site. As far as fire, we did an initial look at that. The fire coverage could still come from the Plains Road Fire Station, and we looked at the response times and compared them. The net increase was only about 3 minutes, and that's just because of the proposed detour being longer than the original route.
Thanks, Tom. Appreciate it. Again, this is Derek Lassard. Getting a few more questions coming in. We appreciate that, so keep submitting them. We like to answer things here for you guys. So the next question we have is from Deb. The current speed on Route 74 is 45 miles per hour. Will it stay at 45 and be enforced? Yes, the speed limit will stay at 45 miles an hour. That will not change. As far as enforcement, I know state police cover the area in Tolland. We don't really have any connection with them, so you would have to talk to your town selectmen to make sure that there's extra coverage out there, and if you want that, if you feel there's an issue there. So yeah, DOT doesn't really have any authority to tell them to do that, but you know, in regards to the design speed and what is going to be posted out there, it will remain at 45 miles per hour. So got a couple more questions coming in. So Steve Bauer, looks like you're from Country Butcher. Steve mentions our initial understanding was Route 74 would remain open. Now we are told that the road will be closed for a minimum of 3 months. That poses many business related issues. Steve, your comment is noted. I know it can be difficult when we have closures of the roadway. We did look into keeping the roadway open and the bridge open during construction. It's just not feasible. The stone masonry abutments are over 100 years old. And in past history, when the department has tried to construct a bridge with stone masonry abutments, there's always risk, and we typically end up closing the bridge down anyways, just because of the deterioration that happens, and there's no real way to ensure stability and structural strength when it comes to a stone masonry abutment. So it's just not feasible not to close the roadway down. So if you do have more concerns about that, we can definitely, if you send us an email, a question, we can definitely follow up with you, Steve, and have more discussions along with the town on that. So that's not a problem. Appreciate your input. Next, we have another question from Deb. It appears to us that frontage will be taken from our property. How will this affect our driveway and its entry to Route 74? Don, do you want to take this question?
Sure, Derek, I can take this one. This is Don Wurst from CHA. The project as it currently stands is not taking any private property from any of the adjacent owners. That means that the department is not acquiring any actual physical property beyond the rights-of-way. The project is anticipated to acquire a slope easement at the northeast corner. That is at the end of that long retaining wall that was shown on the previous slide. Really, all that means is the embankment is necessary to hold up the guide rail at that location. It's the area shown in pink here on the screen. If that embankment were to be eroded away or excavated, that would cause a safety issue for the project. So that easement just protects that area from anything happening that might endanger the metal beam rail along that area. At the southwest corner, there is a drainage easement that's also being acquired just to maintain the area and prevent it from being clogged. So those are the current right-of-way impacts. None of them are actually taking property from private property owners. That's what I have for that one.
Thanks, Don. Appreciate it. This is Derek Lassard again. We'll keep working our way down the questions. So next one from Stephen. Again, safety concerns related to the travel speed on Route 74 at present time. Straightening the road will only increase travel speeds. Why does the road need to be straightened to replace the bridge? Tom, do you want to take this one?
Absolutely, Derek. Again, this is Thomas Sautel from CHA. I'm going to go to the roadway plan real quick, just to explain what's going on here. So the simple answer is that we want to do a 1,200 foot full reconstruction and realignment of the curve located west of the bridge site to fix the poor alignment and curve of the existing roadway. Additionally, so the existing bridge is narrower than the approaches to the east and west of the bridge. And currently the curve does not meet the 50-mile-an-hour design speed standards for this bridge. Now, in general, since this has got a posted speed limit of 45 miles an hour, roads in general are posted 5 miles an hour lower than the design speed. And the reasoning for that is primarily for safety. As you can see here, this is it's a wider and flatter curve that's going to be brought up to the design standards, and it's going to create a safer condition for all users as it's going to improve sight lines.
Thanks, Tom. So this is Derek again. We had another question here from Jen. Question is, who is going to pay for the ambulance stage at Winding River? So Jen, that's going to be covered under the construction costs. As I mentioned before, we have construction costs are being split 80% federal funds and 20% state funds. So we're going to be meeting with the town and working that out. We're going to have some agreements. We still have to work out the details. As I mentioned, we're at the 30% design level, so we have a little bit of design left and coordination left to do with that. So we're going to be working directly with the town. However, it'll be funded through our construction project to pay for that. So next question we have, will there be a designated sidewalk on the bridge for walkers, bicyclers, and runners? So Tom, I don't know if you can jump to the typical section slide. So the ultimate answer to that is no, there's not going to be a designated sidewalk. However, there will be wide shoulders. I know the bridge is very narrow out there today, so when we redesign and replace it, we're going to be bringing everything up to standard. So we have a 5-foot shoulder on both sides with 2 12-foot lanes that are anticipated. It's understood that the bikers obviously are going to be on the roadway, but we're going to have a much wider area there for space for these bikers to pass through. So, but to ultimately answer your question, there's not going to be a designated sidewalk on the bridge. So that's all we have for questions right now. I just want to re-mention, yep, thank you, Tom. Please keep submitting your questions. We have our email address that you can send them to. You can also call them in at the number, leave a voicemail. As people have been doing already, they've been submitting their questions through the Teams chat, which is appreciated. So if you do have questions after this presentation, don't hesitate. You can email the DOT project 0142-0152@ct.gov with any questions you have. Our comment period after this public info meeting is open now all the way through November 1st. And we'll be able to respond to your questions at that point. So looks like we do have another question that just came in. It says, how much noise is expected / what time of day will construction take place? Tom, are you able to take this one?
Yeah, I can take this one, Derek. Again, this is Thomas Sautel with CHA. So we've been coordinating with the town, and we were well aware that the town has a noise ordinance in place. The department also has a maximum noise limit for construction activities. And obviously, normal construction activities will induce a certain amount of noise when we're constructing this bridge. However, the department's going to work with the contractor to schedule noisier activities during daytime hours when feasible with the project.
Yep, thanks, Tom. And to add, there is no night work here. We're going to have standard working hours during the day. So that's the plan for this project. So I appreciate everyone submitting questions. As I mentioned before, I know I'm kind of repeating myself, but you can always submit your questions by email, call in by phone, or submit it through the chat. Our comment period is open now through November 1st. So if you think of a question in the next few days or the next week or so, 2 weeks, you can definitely submit us a question and we'll respond accordingly. So I'm going to wait another minute or two. I'm not seeing any questions pop in. We do have our project webpage that you can visit. It's shown on the screen now. This project website will have our recorded presentation. So if you want to take a look at that later on, you can jump in there and watch that. It also has some information on the project, some background info. And the like. So Our email address, as I mentioned before, is there. If you have any questions, you can also phone them in. We'll be able to respond to them there. If you are watching on YouTube, or if you were trying before, we will have the recording, as I mentioned, on the webpage, and you can watch the full presentation that we had using the link to the webpage below there. So it looks like we have another question that came in from Stephen. Will all questions and answers asked through November 1st be posted for all to review? That's a great question. I don't know the answer. Give me a second for that one.
Hey, Derek, this is James, just to chime in on this question.
Yeah.
At the conclusion of the November 1st comment period, a report of meeting will be drafted for the presentation, and then it'll include all questions and comments that were talked about, and that will be published to the project webpage.
Thanks, James. Appreciate it. So, Stephen, yes. Yep. Anything that you ask will be posted within that comment period. So it will become public. So, as I mentioned before, another repeat here, we do have our email address. Make sure you take that down. So if you have any questions that come up, you can definitely reach out to us. Always open to have your questions and comments on this. We want to make sure we put out a project that's appeasing as many people as we can and creating a safe transportation infrastructure for everyone that's traveling out there. So yeah, make sure you take the email down, phone number down, and we also have the project webpage, which you can look for different resources there also. And yeah, so appreciate everyone's time. I'm not seeing any other questions come in as of now. Rob Moore did post a link to the project webpage, so you can click on that. That'll bring you right to the website. This is where the recording of the presentation will be located. We'll be able to watch that in the next day or two. May not be posted right away, but just visit that in the next couple of days and it should be there. And as I mentioned before, I understand we did have a YouTube issue at one point, so the recorded presentation will be on the webpage and you'll be able to watch anything there and ask any questions during the comment period, which is open now through November 1st. So I just want to thank everyone for attending our meeting today. Really appreciate your input, your questions. We will be monitoring our email address and phone for any comments that you have within our comment period. And even after that, we'll be able to respond to any questions you have. So open to contact us at any time. Just want to thank Brianna and Tom for their presentation and everyone who answered questions and helped out with the presentation today. Yeah, thanks for attending the public info meeting. Looking forward to putting out a good project out here for everyone. So yeah, thank you very much for your time, and I hope you have a great night.